Welcome to the Sleeping Barber podcast.
You ready?
I was born ready, man.
I'm going to bring the heat, V. This is the post-pod.
The post-pod.
Yes. With Jeremy Miller. Not with Jeremy.
Not with Jeremy.
For Jeremy Miller's podcast. So good.
It was incredible, actually. Man, I can't wait to actually get into it, but I just loved the way, his thinking, the way he used some of the traditional frameworks and flips them, just like little things.
Yeah.
I thought were really interesting as a part of that conversation. But it was great. He was great.
Yeah. There's one thing, I just saw some of the notes that I looked at. I remember he mentioned the 3% rule.
Yes.
And I remember a long time ago seeing something about that, and I forgot all about it until he mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically the 595 rule. It was just a less accurate depiction of it. And I completely forgot about that. But that idea has been around for a while.
Yeah. And for listeners, like the 3% rule is only 3% of your market is buying at any given time.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the 595 rule is the Ehrenberg-Bass one, which says that about in any given time, about 5% of the market is buying, 95% isn't.
Exactly.
But that was, it was super interesting. Just totally forgot about that. I remember seeing the pyramid and I think I had put it in presentations a long time ago and I completely forgot about it. Anyway, what did you think?
Well, what did I think? Whew. I pulled out four. I put out four ideas or three themes. So for me, the first one was, remember how you kind of started off saying just taking a lot of the frameworks and just reversing them to apply a different lens. So the first one was like the reverse to the traditional approach, where, Jeremy advocated, flipping the conventional brand to market to sell sequence to sell market brand.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that in of itself is just, again, it applies a completely different lens. And he, I think he said during the call, marketers are going to hate me for emphasizing sales first. Right. Yeah. But he did justify it by saying once you're able to validate those customer needs and product market fit before investing heavily in marketing or rebranding efforts, just makes business sense.
Totally.
Right? And I think that's something we often forget. So I definitely appreciated that as kind of rethinking that model.
Mm-hmm.
The second one for me was the playing to win framework, also in reversed.
Yeah.
Right. And again, it's start by assessing your current capabilities and then finding market needs that they can serve. Right. So when we're talking about the white space or trying to find the right category of entry points, I think we use that as a part of the conversation as well.
Mm-hmm.
The cascade is still there, but instead of coming down the cascade, you're going up the cascade, which again, I thought was, which can be valid. I mean, at the
totally
end,
is. Yeah.
I thought it was.
Yeah, the playing to win framework to me, the way it's mapped is that it starts from top down, but then it goes bottom up. But when you're in what was an aha for me was that when you're in a moment when you have a revenue gap, and there's a lot of stress and strain that comes with that. One of the way I looked at it was just how he uses that framework. It's not about starting top down or bottom up. It's what do we know to be true, and then from what do we know to be true, you look at your capabilities that are true, because those are going to be slower things to change. So based on your capabilities, how can you adapt your where to play, how to win? Yeah. So that was a really interesting, practitioner's approach, I thought, to using that tool. Yeah. It was really cool. Yeah. What else did you had?
Yeah. The last two was make sure you're finding an undefended market space.
Yeah.
See if you can kind of find that and just kind of go after it. So instead of competing directly with industry giants, identify white space in the market where your specific capabilities can address burning customer needs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, more self-explanatory, but we did talk about, Walmart's early strategy as an example, where they targeted growing areas outside of just major competitor territories, building strength before the giants even noticed that they were operating in that space. So, and the last one was revenue gaps as growth catalysts.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than viewing revenue gaps as purely negative, Jeremy kind of frames that in more, frame them more as powerful catalysts for necessary organizational change. And again, we often, it's so funny, but this one feels like it kind of hits home a little bit. I think even just through our experiences, but the moment you start seeing that revenue pressure, what got you there won't get you to that next phase of what the org may need, right? So you're going to have to take a hard look at everything to make sure that you're positioned, you have the right resources in the right areas to kind of go after that next phase. And he used his own company as an example of that, right? And the pivot that they had to make early on.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would argue we don't look in the mirror quite often to see then really kind of see, like, depict what we're actually seeing. We think that everything's fine operationally and things like that. It's like, we just need to do, sometimes it's like, no, you're just not approaching it the right way. And you have to go really deep in finding some of those changes that you have to make.
Yeah. The Kodak example was pretty good, I thought.
Great one, yeah.
Like, because I've used that forever.
Yeah.
Or refer to that, not used it, but refer to that all the time.
His positioning was different around that.
Totally.
Which
awesome.
Is
based on that core capabilities thing. He's like, yeah, they're not, there was no way they were going to be able to produce a digital camera. That's not who they were. Like, their core capabilities were a chemical company.
Yeah.
Like, right. Yeah.
It's often forgotten though. Like I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
So it's easy to poo-poo on Kodak on a missed opportunity, but it's like, was it real?
I think about that kind of stuff all the time. I can't remember if I said this during the interview or not, but are often like new ideas of any kind in an organization are often like a virus, and an organization's antibody system will fight a virus.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And if the idea,
protect the white blood cells.
Yeah, if the idea is actually close to what the company believes, then the virus can, transmit and replicate and adapt and all that kind of stuff. But if it's really different, it's going to get destroyed. And I think that's what happened with Kodak. Like, that it wasn't a core capability for them to do it. It was a really different idea, and it just got destroyed and kicked out, and they sold it off or whatever they did with it. And I don't remember all the whole story, but yeah. Super interesting.
Yeah. So those were my 4. How about you?
Yeah. Former sales guy. So I'm like, yeah.
Sales rocks.
Well, no, not that it rocks. It's just that, like, some classic sales things like SWOT, sell what's available today, right? Like,
I've never heard that before. I'm not a sales guy, clearly, but okay.
Oh yeah, it's a thing.
Okay.
Because especially on sales side of things, like, you can get really excited about the thing that's coming, but who knows if it's going to be available?
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
Sales 101 is sell what's available today. And that was one of the things he was talking about was, I forget how he phrased it. I just had a note about it and I just lost it in my notes here. But sales should be prioritized over marketing strategy and the revenue gap. Talking about sales sprints can help validate the market needs really quickly. So, like, totally get that. Remember the ice cream example he had too. It's not necessarily a massive, like, change to go from, let's say, tubs of ice cream to small self-serve.
No.
Or not, single serve,
but white labeled or whatever.
Yeah, ice cream things. But, like, that's a great example of sell what's available today. You have ice cream, you have these self-serve things. You can create a new product, but it's all there. Like, you're not reinventing the wheel, so to speak. So I think just that's a really important part. Also, from a marketing perspective, really refreshing, because it is really important to understand marketing's role in this whole thing. And it might not be entirely possible for marketing to do all the things that the company wants to do. Like, it has to be, we said this a bunch of times before, but it's a team effort.
100%.
Winning is a team effort. And so if you don't have the right product in the right place and the right sales distribution and the right sales strategy, messaging, and the right advertising, then you're going to probably fail whenever there's a revenue gap, because it's the hammer nail kind of analogy. So I like that idea about, I agree with you, starting with sales, rooting into that, seeing what people buy as part of your product market fit, and then building off of that.
Actually makes sense.
Totally.
I guess especially if you use it from a revenue constrained lens to say, well, hey, if I'm going to go through this process of diagnosing what's wrong, or how do I reposition, it's not a terrible thing to kind of go that route.
Yeah. I think it happens a lot too when companies start. And not just startups, but any kind of company that starts. You start because you've got sales. People or an owner or CEO or whoever that's selling something. And then the company grows and grows and grows. And you get to a point where you've extended past your personal network.
Yeah.
So then you need
mom and dad can't buy more.
Yeah, you need more marketing efforts to coordinate things.
Yeah.
But in those moments when there's a revenue gap, that kind of collapses. And so you kind of got to look back down and kind of go old school to get it to slingshot. But I'm trying to think what else I had in here. Revenue stream slingshot, understanding customer needs. That's a really important part. obviously. Yeah, like there's just so many practical examples that he had and ideas around like it's not, especially in a moment, I think just the panic and the fear and like the emotional component of you have a revenue gap. There's so much to like manage from a personality perspective to have a framework that allows you to like meaningfully approach that gap in that sort of moment of crisis. Like I think it's a really helpful tool.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, he made a lot of sense. He made a lot of sense. No wonder he's successful.
Yeah, right. Anyway, yeah, I thought it was a great conversation. I'm super happy that we got a chance to talk to him about that.
Yeah, no, I think it's very practical advice for those listening. I think we can all take something from this and apply it in either your own practices or, an organization. Just help throw the light in the areas that we should have more dialogue on. And if you are pivoting to a new direction, do you have the right setup? Do you have the right resourcing plan against it? You do have the right systems and all the rest of it. So yeah, I think just thinking about some of these traditional frameworks in a different way, I think can help you get there. But yeah, no, I agree. It was a fantastic conversation. I knew I was like feverishly writing as many notes as I could. And and I will be adopting a few of these things. So it was good.
Cool. All right, well, B, and with that, I am going to sign off and go chase some little bit of, it's not even flex of profitability anymore. It's almost like sleet of profitability. I don't even know what to call that.
Just catch some Z's.
Oh, there's that too. Maybe I can go find some profitability in my bed.
While I sleep.
While I sleep. On account I didn't really last night. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, no, it's all good. No worries. It's a thing. I just don't sleep very much anymore. Eventually, that will all come back to me. I'll remember how to do it at some point.
Yeah, you got this, buddy. I trust you.
Thanks for believing in me.
All right.
Until next time.
We'll chat soon.
Bye.